Welcome to True You Ministries with pastoral counselor Stacy Echeverria. Stacy is a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught her the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. We're grateful that you've joined us for this week's broadcast. You can learn more about Stacy and her heartfelt desire to help people much like yourself who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling her at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email her at info@trueyouministries.com. And welcome to another edition of True You Ministries. How you doing, Stacy?
I'm doing really well. How about you, Todd?
I'm always good, and I always feel so blessed. And today I'm going to use the word grateful for being a part of this show and getting to spend this time with you. And I always learn so much, and I know all of our listeners and viewers do as well. And I do want to encourage, if anybody's missed any past shows, go to trueyouministries.com. Stacy uploads all the shows on there. It's a great resource. If you miss any part of a show, you can go back and listen again. So today's topic is developing a heart of gratitude. So this is a great topic going into the holiday season and get us focused where our focus should be. So Stacy, can you start by sharing a little bit personal story when it comes to developing a heart of gratitude?
Yes. So I've touched on this before where in my family of origin, it always seemed like the focus was on what we didn't have, that we needed more and more and more. And I know that that comes from my mom's own personal story of some of the challenges that she had in the country that she was born in, and families. Her parents died when she was really young. She was placed in an orphanage, and she came to this country all by herself to find one of her brothers. But she's of that generation of the Depression, and so it's clinging to things and not wanting to let things go, but yet not being able to see how much she did have. And so I grew up in that, and that tended to, of course, we are a product of our environment. And unless we go through our own healing process, we'll carry that through to the next generations. And so I kind of struggled with that, where my husband and I would watch House Hunters, let's say, and hear these homes that these people are looking into buying. And I'm going, wow, they have more square footage than we do. They've got a larger home. They've got property. They have all these things. And I'm comparing it to my own home. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That doesn't feel good, because the Lord brought us to this home that we have, and we're so blessed to have it. And so I realized I needed to do some work around being grateful right where I'm at with what I have. And there's a dear friend of mine, every time she comes over, she says, "Your home is so beautiful." And all I can do is just say thank you. But in my mind, I'm thinking, what is she seeing that I'm not seeing? And so that really got me to this place of, I really need to have healing around, that heart issue. It was so much a part of my growing up, and I'm not blaming, but it just highlighted, Stacy, you've got some work to do in this area, and just really having gratitude for what the Lord has given us. He's allowing us to steward His resources.
Yeah. Why do you think it is the fascination with, going back to lifestyles of the rich and the famous? What is it about our society that is it just because it's capitalism that
That's a great question. Capitalism in and of itself is not bad. It allows people to have independence, and it allows for creativity and for expansion and growth and advances. But then there's always the flip side of it, and that is wanting more and more and more. And I think to myself, here are these rich people, wealthy people, and I don't deny them their wealth at all. But I think to myself, how many collectible cars do you need?
yeah.
Like an entire garage filled. I mean, garages that are large enough to house a family,
Yeah.
where they've got all these collectible vehicles. And I'm going, are they driving them? What are they doing with them? And I think it's in the 80s and the 90s, where it was the decades of excess,
Mm,
right? That's the problem. It's excess.
yeah.
And really going after those things, thinking that I'm going to feel better about myself. Once I attain this, then I'll have made it. But then someone else comes along and hires, and the bar gets
It's
higher.
higher. Yeah.
You cannot compete. And so it's really about looking at where you're at. Where does the Lord have you? What is he having you do? What is he allowing you to steward, and stewarding that well? If we cannot steward well the little bit that he's given us, why would he give us any more?
Yeah. That's a great point. And if you're always worried about keeping up with the Joneses, then you're not focused where your focus should be on the Lord and what He's
Exactly.
given you. So
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
always so good with scriptures. Do you have some scriptures that you could share with us that deals with developing a heart of gratitude?
Yes. So Ephesians 5:20, always give thanks to God the Father in the name of our Lord Yeshua Messiah. And then First Samuel 12:24, only fear Adonai and serve him faithfully with all your heart, for think what great things he has done for you. And so really it's focus the focus is away from us, and it's rightfully on him. Everything that he's doing for us, everything that he's given us, material things, finances, our health, where we live, all of that. He's the one that gives us those things.
Yeah, those are good ones. I always save our notes and I'm compiling them because you always come up with great scriptures.
Thank
So
you.
I'm
Yeah.
for anybody that's just tuning in. This is True You Ministries with host Stacy Echeverria. She's your pastoral counselor. She can help you with a myriad of different issues, anything you're dealing with. She does individual counseling. She does couples
Mhm,
counseling, and she's
mhm,
great at networking. She's had so many past guests on here that if she can't help you, she'll guide you towards somebody who can. And I just want to give out her number here is 626 461 3344. That's 626 461 3344, or
yeah.
email info@trueyouministries.com, and Stacy will definitely help you out.
Mhm.
So why is gratitude a key component to healing?
Yeah, so I first want to start with the definition of gratitude.
Oh,
So
great.
it's yeah, just to get people
I almost was
grounded
going to
here.
ask you that, but I didn't know if that was too cheesy, but I'm great you did that.
No,
It was on my heart
no,
too.
yeah, absolutely. So gratitude is a positive emotion that involves being thankful and appreciative, and is associated with several mental and physical health benefits. So when you experience gratitude, you feel grateful for something or someone in your life, and respond with feelings of kindness, warmth, and other forms of generosity. So that's what gratitude is.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Well, and
And
then
it has
it has healing
Mhm.
component to it.
Absolutely
That's
does,
great.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, it allows us to stay focused on what's good in our lives, right? We can There's so many awful things going on in the world right now. There really
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
And I'm not saying we deny those things, that we put our head in the sand, and we don't even bother thinking about it. We don't bother knowing what's happening or being informed. I think knowing what's going on around us allows us to pray for those things, to pray into those things, because prayer can definitely change an outcome of something that's happening. But when we focus on gratitude in the midst of challenges, that will allow us to focus on areas of growth that we may need, because the challenges will tell us, okay, maybe we made a decision that wasn't a great decision, and that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Or it's just life stuff that happens, when someone gets laid off. We're not in control of that. But how can we find gratitude in that? How can we find the positive in that? Right? When we don't stay in a place of gratitude, we also lose hope.
Mm,
And then horrible things come when we don't have hope. Some of
mhm.
it's very deadly too. People without hope will commit suicide. And so we don't want that. We want to be able to see, okay, God, what are you doing in this? I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing right now, but I'm going to stay grateful because I have you in my life.
Yeah.
We right? We can be grateful for knowing that the Lord is with us even in times of struggle and challenges and
Yeah,
hard
even
times.
even if you have nothing at all, you have
Correct.
everything with that.
I
Yeah,
love that. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the other thing too is that it allows us to develop a healthy brain.
Mm.
And our brains are just bombarded with so much stuff, and we need to be able to keep our brains healthy.
Well,
And a
we covered
healthy
that on the spiritual warfare episode.
Yeah, we did.
Constant
Yes.
bombardment. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and so when we have a healthy brain, when we're developing gratitude, we are helping our brains stay healthy, and when we do that, we minimize the amount of stress, anxiety, and worry that we're dealing with as well. Um, and it also acknowledges the struggles and challenges in our lives while focusing on the following. So we focus on what God is doing and not on what is happening.
Okay.
Like I said, we can have an awareness of what is going on, but we focus on what God is doing. Because I firmly believe, with so much of what's going on in the world right now, the enemy is using that as a distraction to pull us away from God and what he's doing, and staying focused on all the horrible things. And what happens when we're focusing on all the bad things? Fear starts to set in.
Mm. Yeah.
So then we're no longer grounded. And then gratitude allows us to stay in the present, and then it's a deepening faith knowing that God is with us. So I love Joshua 1:5b through 6. So Joshua is about to lead a couple of million Israelites into the promised land, finally. Finally, after 40 years. So the Lord is saying to him, just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never fail you nor abandon you. Be strong and courageous. Now, we may not be leading 2 million people into the promised land, but the Lord is moving us into he might be moving us into ministry, another job. He's moving us into another territory. He won't move us into another territory unless he's with us.
Mm.
And then he provides for us along the way as well.
Yeah.
And so, that gratitude allows us to move. It allows us to move into the things that the Lord has called us to as well.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. Hey, we should always be moving forward in our spiritual growth and in our life and mental health.
Mhm,
You can't, if you're static, it's almost the same
mhm,
as moving backwards. So
mhm, mhm.
that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about people where they're always complaining about something, or they're cutting other people down. um, First of all, they end up becoming extremely miserable, and they're unpleasant to be around.
Yeah.
And when you're unpleasant to be around, you'll end up pushing people away, not having any friends that want to hang out with you. And then that becomes a life of isolation.
Loneliness.
And
Yeah.
it's loneliness. And so, it's always so uplifting when you're around someone that's optimistic and realistic, and yet can see the good things in life. Like my husband's this way. So we'll be talking and I'll say, hey, I'll have a perspective, and he'll see the other perspective. And as a joke, I'll always say to him, I go, you're Mr. Silver Lining. Because he always sees the good in
Yeah.
everything. And sometimes I'm like, that really annoys me. I just want to vent. And I know, and yet it's true. It's like he always sees the good things, the he always sees the best, the best side of things, and has a different perspective. And that's really helped me along in my own healing process, in not being, that person where it's like, yeah, but there's this and that. And he's like, but then there's this. And this
Yeah.
is what God is doing. And I'm like, okay. you know?
That's why God put you two together, to help you with that.
Exactly.
Now you hear about people, they said, well, they're either a half full or half empty type of person, optimistic,
Yeah.
pessimistic. But
Yeah.
that's got to change with different situations, right? Somebody's just not always that way. They're always half empty. And if they are, they can come to you and you can help them change that perspective, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I do in my counseling, and thank you so much for bringing that up, Todd. What I do in my counseling when people are focusing, on the struggles, and they just happen to just stay in there. They're sort of stewing in it, and I'll ask, so was there something positive that you took out of the experience? Are you experiencing God in this? And if you are, what is he doing, or what is he saying to you? Or, I always think it could always be worse. I mean, it could, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
always be worse.
Yeah.
And so what is it that God is wanting to do in you? What is he wanting to grow in you? How is he wanting to strengthen you? What is he wanting you to learn in this? We will continue experiencing similar struggles if we don't learn what it is that the Lord wants us to learn from it. He'll
Now,
bring those lessons back around.
yeah. Yeah. If you don't get it the first time, come, he'll hit you a couple more times with it till it gets through to you.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with a counselor, or say somebody who's listening right now, and they're talking with a friend who's in a place of negativity, they're down on the situation, down on themselves, and you try to
Mhm,
bring up to them, yes, but
mhm,
look, in a different perspective, look, you still have your
mhm,
health, you have your family, you have
mhm,
a job, you have a
mhm,
roof over your head.
mhm, mhm,
I've been in that situation where that person just, you give them that, and they say, yeah, but, and they go
mhm,
right back
mhm,
to lamenting on
mhm.
whatever it is that's weighing heavy on their
Right,
shoulder. So at that point, is
right.
that just a time for you to listen? Or do you need to come back with them and say, hey, you're not being grateful, you're being ungrateful on all the things you have. Look what's right in front of you. Or is that
Mhm.
time for you to walk away? Or
Um, it really all depends, right? So
yeah,
sometimes it is being that direct and saying, "Look, here's all the really great things that are going on over here. And you can choose to stay where you're at and wallow in it, or you can choose to look at the good things." For some, they may not have that capacity to even receive that. So it may just be not even saying anything else, but praying for them and let the
mm,
Lord deal with their hearts, right?
yeah,
For other people, they just don't get it. They won't get it because they are just so stuck. And I've had this happen where I would hear the same thing over and over and over again for a number of years. And in my head, I'm thinking, turn the record over or flip the page,
yeah,
right? You just want to,
yeah,
like, how many, I'm listening to this for 20 years, right? And I'm giving you advice, you're asking me, and yet nothing's changed. So then I'm realizing, you know what? They just want to vent, and
mm,
they're getting something out of it, otherwise they
yeah,
wouldn't be doing it, and they're really not ready for that change that's available to them.
mm, yeah. I want to remind listeners, if you just tuned in right now, this is True You Ministries with your pastoral counselor, Stacy Echeverria. Today's topic is developing a heart of gratitude. And, this is such an important thing, especially right now in the season where,
Mhm.
the commercials are all ramping up on all, you got to buy the newest toy in the car. I always love those commercials where the spouse gives each other a car. You go, who does that? And who would pick a car out for the spouse without asking them? It's a big surprise with a big bow on there. And you go,
I know.
didn't really
I
want
know.
a truck. Thank
Yeah,
you. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
always so ridiculous. So
That's a Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous episode right there.
yeah, yeah, it sure is. Um, and we've talked before, and you've talked before in on this show and other episodes where if you are grateful, then you can't it's hard to be grateful and sad at the same time. It's hard to be grateful and depressed, or grateful and lamenting on things that you don't have. And just, I had shared with you about an incident that happened not too long ago about my
Mhm.
bank account got drained.
Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
an accident.
Mhm.
It was just some numbers were from somebody else's account and got screwed up. So it wasn't anything nefarious. But I had to reflect, because at the time got so worked up over it. And I knew the Lord was trying to show me something, that I was just a
Mhm.
little too focused on money at the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I got my money back, and I'm
Mhm.
here at the station, and at the time we're running an appeal called Africa Renewal, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna sponsor a child. And
Oh,
so
I
I
love it.
decided to sponsor a child. And so it's so interesting. By giving, I'm
Mhm.
so grateful. I'm so
Mhm.
grateful, and I have so much gratitude, because it's a reminder of how much I do have.
That's right.
And the card came the other day, and with his
Mhm.
description, and I'm going to write him a
Mhm.
letter. But it just, something like that
Yeah.
just kind of puts things into perspective for you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that leads into my next question: is what are some
Mhm.
practical things we can do to develop gratitude?
Right. So one would be to keep a gratitude journal and add to it every day.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be, with like crazy things. It could just be, I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. Could be really
yeah.
simple, right? But
Mm,
for me, I'm always grateful when I'm able to take a walk in my neighborhood and I'm in God's creation, right? I'm grateful that I can even do some of the things that I'm able to do physically, because I deal with a lot of pain, and
yeah.
yet I'm still more able than some others, right? So I've gratitude for that. So keep it really, really simple. And just start with one thing every day. Some people like to, list two or three things a day, but I always like keeping it simple. Just
Yeah.
keep it really simple, right? Or you can even expand on the gratitude from the previous day, and oh, and with that, I'm also grateful for that too. So you all have fun with that. Get creative. Tell someone, that you love and appreciate them. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Notice the beauty in nature each day. That's just something that I do. The creation talks to me. The Lord
Yes.
communicates to me in His creation. So I'm
I
always grateful.
Yeah. And you can see the Lord's work, and it just reminds you how
Yeah,
amazing he is. And
yeah,
I drive an extra 10 minutes to work with the scenic route. I go up Mount Soledad, and I pass the cross. So I love
yeah,
seeing the cross, and then I look down, I can see the ocean down in La Jolla. And I
yeah.
drive an extra 10 minutes just to see that. And I always
I
think
love it.
how
Mhm.
powerful the Lord is. And if he could do all this, I can get through work today.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Yes. And even in that, in nature, it's Him saying to us, "I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
all around you."
Oh yeah.
Right? Maybe make it a habit to do an act of kindness every day. Whatever it is, holding a door open for someone, there was this thing where it was like, paying it forward,
Yeah.
right? Or you're at the coffee shop and you pay for the person behind you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
As you're led to do
Yes.
that, right? Complimenting someone, that's easy. That's not going to cost you anything. Offering to help. So, you may have an elderly neighbor who needs help with grocery shopping or whatever it is that they may need help with, offering to help someone. Uh, so those are just some really simple things. The other thing too, some practical things that we can do is avoid negative content.
Mm.
There's a lot
Oh,
of negative content that's out there
sure
in
is.
media,
Yeah.
right? Even on the radio, some music can be really negative. Social media. I know for me, I'm not on social media. I haven't been on social media for about 3 years because I need to protect my emotional health as I'm sitting with counselees, right? My clients.
Yeah.
And I just can't have that stuff bombarding me. And I don't even miss it, by the way. So that's me. So turn off the TV, or don't watch the news. I mean, the news that's out there these days, you have to be very selective. Um, and then also, when the Lord brings someone to your mind, reach out to them either by calling them, sending them a text, or even writing a handwritten note. I know that I've been very intentional when the Lord puts someone on my heart and that has not gone away for a couple of days, I will reach out to them. And they're like, "Oh, Stacy, thank you so much for reaching out. I've got this going on." I said, "Oh, great. I'm so glad I reached out. Now I know what to pray for."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Pray.
Don't hesitate
No,
when the Lord puts it on your heart to reach out to somebody. Do it right away, because you don't
exactly.
know when that opportunity won't arise again.
Exactly. And it's an opportunity to pray for someone, right?
Yes.
That's just wonderful, right? Again, looking for the bright side even in the challenges of life, and then making this is for me. Making a daily commitment to not complain about anything. I could be that person where like, what in the world is going on in the world? It's like so upside down. And I'm like, okay, Lord, let me just stay focused on you right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And it's easy to do. I say that to myself all the time. At work, sometimes we vent with our coworkers, and then
Yeah.
you have your special coworkers that all you do is vent.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what? Today I'm not venting with Bob or whatever. I'm going to keep it all positive. He'll come to me, he can vent, and
Exactly.
I'll just give him the silver lining. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. And then, right, live in the present, stop worrying about the past and the future. I mean, we only have today. The past is
Yes.
gone. We have today. We don't know about tomorrow. We
Hmm.
really don't.
Yeah.
So I love John 14:1. Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. Um, and I hit on this other one earlier, and that is embrace challenges and turn them into growth opportunities.
Moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'd love to leave our listeners with this scripture, First Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances. Notice the word all. It doesn't say in some, but in all circumstances. For this is the will of God in Jesus for you.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Now, we like to end with a call to salvation. So anybody that's listening right now that doesn't know the Lord or maybe has wandered from him, what would you like to say to them?
Yeah. He is with you. He is all around you. You are not in this place of hopelessness. The enemy would have you believe that no one cares about you, that no one knows what's going on with you. And that may be true, but there is one that knows everything about you and knows what your struggles are. And he's reaching out his hand to you and he wants you to take it because he will help you in your struggles. And he, the Lord Jesus, is your hope today. So please say yes to him today. And I'm
Yes.
happy to, yes, yes, and
Yes.
I'm happy to speak with anyone that, has any questions about salvation, wants me to pray with them. I'm happy to do that as well.
Yes, please reach out to Stacy, 626-461-3344, or email her info@trueyouministries.com. Thank you so much. I'm grateful that we got to do this show today. If you've missed any of our past shows or missed any of today's show, please go to trueyouministries.com. The podcast and the videos are up there, and share them with your friends. If you think this is something that someone in your life maybe is a little depressed right now, or is not feeling grateful, send them this video and they'll turn their day around. So until next time, I know what you heard today will encourage you to take the first step for everlasting change. Until next time, God bless. You've been listening to True You Ministries with pastoral counselor Stacy Echeverria. Stacy is a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught her the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. You can learn more about Stacy and her heartfelt desire to help people, much like yourself, who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling her at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email her at info@trueyouministries.com. That email once again is info@trueyouministries.com. Thank you for tuning into today's show, and we'll see you next week at the same time. And may God richly bless you.